I had posted on Instagram and Facebook about how I was starting my sourdough starter again, and there were a lot of people who asked for a video on this because they have had a hard time with the process. So I'm going to show you how to make a sourdough starter. I actually want to use whole wheat flour. You're going to move to bread flour eventually, but to start, you want whole wheat flour or rye flour because whole grains actually have more wild yeast and microorganisms on it. It's basically 1 cup flour to about 1/2 cup of filtered water. My water is from a well, so it's not going to cause any issue, but yours could. So use bottled water or leave your water sitting out for 24 hours to get rid of any chlorine if you're concerned that you're on a city system. I'm going to add just a little bit more water so that this can come together. But really you want equal parts by weight. You want it thick, you don't want it real runny. You also want it to come together and have a little movement. There we go, that's perfect. You can kind of see it's thick, it's not runny, it's just wet enough. Got a clean jar. Clean jar is kind of important in the beginning stages of making your sourdough starter so that you can see when it rises and falls, because you get to learn when it rises, that means the yeast is active. When it falls, that's when the yeast is hungry and it wants to be fed. And you have to get a feel for that because that's how you use your starter. You want to feed it and let it rise in your bread, and that's how your bread gets its height. You do want to leave it on the counter and you want to cover it so nothing can get in. I like to use just a simple coffee filter and put the lid on it, and that way this can continue to breathe, but no fruit flies will get in there. The other thing you can do if you have it is you can take a rubber band and you can kind of put it where the level of your sourdough starter's at so that you can see when it rises above that line and you know that it's active. After 24 hours, we will feed it again. This is day 3 of my sourdough starter, and you can see from the jar it rose and it fell back down. You want to wait for the mixture to fall back down before you feed it again. See all the bubbles already in that, and that's just from 2 days. Basically, every day you're going to do pretty much the same thing. Really, it comes out to about 1/2 cup starter, 1/2 cup water, and about 1 cup of flour. Okay, so there's 1/2 cup. I like to mix the water into the starter. It breaks it up and makes it easier to incorporate. Now that I am on day 3, I'm going to go ahead and switch to bread flour. This one's pretty dry, so I'm going to add just a little bit more water. But you do want it kind of thick. And then I like to get a clean jar and pour it in there. I'm just going to wipe the top here so that I don't have any of this on here. And I'm using a jar that does not have the stopper because it's not necessary to completely stop it. I like to have a little bit of airflow, so to me that works. You can actually save the discard. I'm putting this in the fridge. You can turn this into pancakes. You can turn it into all kinds of things. The only thing you really can't turn it into just yet is bread because it's not strong enough yet. So save it, reuse it, put it in some baked goods, and it won't go to waste. This is day 4, and it's been fed roughly 12 hours ago, but I had to wait for it to come down because it was still a little bit high. You can see it has slid down here. So we can actually go ahead and feed this now. We are doing the same thing we've been doing. It is 1/2 cup of starter. Okay. Roughly 1/2 cup of water. Mix this in. And about 1 cup of flour. Maybe slightly less. Last time we didn't have enough moisture, so I might go just under. Because we're using the bread flour now, it does look just a little bit different. Still very sticky and thick. Almost like peanut butter. Just washed my jar. We're gonna pop it back in there. And now we're on a schedule of feeding it every 12 hours or until it pretty much doubles in size when it rises. This is day 6. We're getting closer. We're still not quite doubled though. So as soon as this comes down a little, I will feed this. I haven't had to feed it every 12 hours because it hasn't really been that active. So I don't know if it's a little bit cold in my house because temperature can affect it. So I'm doing just 1 feeding a day for the time being, but if this comes down, I will go ahead and give this another feeding. See, it has fallen all the way down. We're starting to get much more rise out of it. And I finally got a scale to show you guys what it looks like to do this by weight. This is actually the proper way to do it. Put the bowl on top of here, and we're gonna hit tare. What that's gonna do is take it back down to 0. I've seen measurements anywhere from 113 to 120. We're gonna add equal parts water, so we're gonna also tare this again. Unless you wanna do the math, you can do the math too. Okay, we're gonna stir this up just to incorporate it. Tare it. And now we're gonna stir this up. We no longer need our scale. We're gonna take this, put this in our jar, and let it rest. And hopefully, either by tomorrow or soon thereafter, our starter will start doubling in size. Once we start doubling in size, we're done and we can use it. I'm still letting this breathe by using a coffee filter and a rubber band. It works really well. But noticed where this is. Just take a good note of that. I grabbed a rubber band. We'll see if this will stay on here. That's going to give us a line. You can kind of see where that starter is. It's just a good measurement tool.